Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Lunch and Learn webinar. Um, I'm so pleased to have so many of you joining over your lunch break. So thanks for giving us your time. In this webinar, we'll show you how you can break the one and done cycle of creating great content and then sharing it just once, hoping it's seen by the right people and then kind of forgetting about it. And I don't know about you, but if you think about, let's say, putting a great outfit together, you've put the effort, you've created the outfit, you go out, maybe some people have seen you, no one's going to remember. And then you feel like you want to wear that outfit again. And it's a little bit the same with creating great content. You want to share it again and again with people, but maybe from different angles and from different perspectives. So this goes for your podcast, for your blogs, for your reports, and any great piece of content that you've put your heart into and to spend time creating. And with how busy the digital world is, I know we often feel like we need to create new content constantly to please the algorithm, to make sure that we stay relevant. Maybe there is a smarter way of working and more impactful way where we can create great content with less effort. While we wait a couple of more to join, I'd love if you can say hi in the chat, let us know where do you work, where you're joining from today. The Zoom room is full of people working in the impact sector, so I'd love if after this session you leave not only with a lot of knowledge, but maybe with some new connections as well. So make sure you stay active in the chat and say hi. Okay, while we wait for everyone, I'd love to tell you a little bit more about who I am and our team. And I'm joined by Lucy, my colleague, who will share the next slide, where you can see a few of us. So my name is Nina, and I head the strategy team at a social media agency called Social for Good. And we're a social media agency that's based in Brighton. We are a team of 9, as you can see on the picture. We're everything from strategists, trainers, social media managers, paid managers, graphic designers, data analysts, influencer campaign managers, basically anything you think about social media related to social media, we have a specialist in the team working on it. And we work with very specific type of organizations. It's always about purpose. It's purpose-driven brands that are doing something good either with people or with planet. And although most of our clients are charities and nonprofits, we also work with a lot of organizations in research, educational organizations, healthcare organizations, as well as B Corps. And there is 2 things that we're trying to achieve on social media, if you want to say our mission. So the first one is to help organizations that are doing good things in the world to maximize their impact on social media by being more strategic. And the second one is to make social media a little bit more positive. Maybe you felt that too, but I feel like in the last few years, with all of the changes happening on X and the way Meta is changing its policies around data security and API, it just feels a little bit toxic on social media. So sometimes making social positive feels like mission impossible, but we believe that it is possible, and that's why we exist. So anyways, that's all about us. Now let's focus on you and what you're going to get out of this session. So over the next 40 or so minutes, we're going to cover 3 things. The first one is we're going to understand what's the difference between reformatting, reusing, and repurposing your content. We're going to learn how you can turn any long form content into a steady stream of content pieces. So you have one blog, but you turn it into multiple different content pieces. And we're going to look at a lot of examples from different organizations, as well as ourselves, of how we repurpose content to hopefully get you inspired. So this is going to take us around 25 to 30 minutes. And at the end, we should have around 10 to 15 minutes for Q&A and discussion, where you can share your experience and ask any questions. So stick around until the end. Just having a quick look over the chat to see who's joined us. So thank you for joining, guys. We have Disability and Equality Scotland, we have Southall Black Sisters, PDSA, Julie from West Sussex Mine. Amazing. Oh, so many locations in the UK. Perfect. Oh, very exciting. We have a really nice group of people in the room. Thank you for joining, guys. Now, before we kick off, I'd love to hear from you. In the on Zoom, you're gonna see a poll pop up, and I'd love to know what are your biggest challenges when it comes to content repurposing. Is it that you don't have enough time to do it? You don't know what formats to use? You're unsure which content exactly you can repurpose on social media? Perhaps you feel like there's no really system or a process in place. Maybe you're worried that people are going to remember if you say the same thing again and again. Or maybe it's something else, and you can share in the chat what this could be. I will give us a few seconds for you to answer. Looks like people are mostly worried about the content feeling repetitive. This is the biggest worry people have, as I was not having a system in place. So we have 10 of you are worried about the content feeling repetitive. Okay, that's the biggest challenge. Okay, amazing. So we're going to solve all of these challenges today, and especially the one about being repetitive. I'd love to show you something now. Okay, stay with me. If we think about algorithms and how they operate in a way where they reward consistency. They want you to show up consistently on social media, not just originality, but they want you to be active, to be posting, whether it's 3 times a week, whether it's 5 times a week, but it's consistently posting content. But the thing is, you don't need to consistently create new content. You can simply repurpose, reformat, or reuse content you've already shared in the past. And this is the hack to working smarter, not harder. And I know some of you said that you worried about the content feeling repetitive. But if you think about the people that follow you on social media, what percentage of them do you think see your content on average? And just put some numbers in the chat. Let me know. Is it 20%? Is it 50%? Is it 10%, 5%? I'd love to hear from you. Just a couple of guesses in the chat. Let's see some numbers. Julie is saying 30%. Anyone else? Sonia is saying 10%. Alexandra is saying 10%. Okay, well, let's move on to the next slide and have a look together. So, as you can see here, it ranges between 2 and 13% channel dependent. And what this means is that there's only a very tiny fraction of the people that follow you that see your content the first time you publish it. And even when they see it, it doesn't mean that they fully engage with it, that they fully read it, that they're going to remember it. That's why it's really important to repeat your messaging, because it means that people are going to remember, they're going to digest it, and they're going to hopefully take the action you want them to take next time. And if we look into the next slide and think about the benefits of repurposing our content, according to HubSpot, repurposed content could generate up to 60% more leads. You can, according to the Content Marketing Institute, you can reach up to 80% more of your audience because you're creating content in new formats, giving your audience opportunity to see your content again and again. And according to HubSpot, this can lead to up to 92% more traffic than the original content, because let's say you have a blog post and you share that blog post just first time as a summary saying, we've created this blog post, go and read it, you're going to learn about X, Y, Z, and then you never talk about it again. How many people are actually going to read the blog post, or they're going to learn the things that you're sharing in the blog post? But if you repurpose that blog post and maybe you share some highlights about it, or maybe turn it into a carousel and you break down the information from the blog post into a graphic, then way more people are going to learn the things that you shared in the blog post, because they would actually read it, they would see it on social, etc. Okay, so if we look onto the next slide, what you can see is the first way of, I guess, resharing your content, and this is reformatting it. There's 3 ways that you can work smarter, not harder, and create impact with less effort. The first one being reformatting, which is something that I feel like a lot of you already do. It's when you share the same content, but you optimize it for different channels. And Mind, on the next slide, is an organization that I noticed that did that quite recently. So you've all probably heard the news about the government cutting disability benefits, and Mind created a piece on their website basically saying that since the announcement was made, they had a surge in calls. People were very worried about their well-being and how is the cuts in disability benefits going to affect their well-being. So anyways, they have this information of what does this mean for people on their website. And if we look onto the next slide, we'll see how they've turned this into a social media post. So on their Facebook, the most popular type of content they share, it's text posts, like statuses that people can very simply reshare on their own Facebook. And they've used the same information, they've just made it shorter, more digestible for social media. However, they know that this is not going to work on Instagram. So if you go and look onto their Instagram, you'll see that they have turned the same content piece, just on the next slide, Lucy. They've turned the same content piece into a graphic where it's very shareable graphic. They've just made a statement saying these benefit cuts mean people don't know how they'll survive. Some fear they'll have no choice but to take their own lives. It's very striking, it's very bold. And when people see that, they're very likely to reshare it because it feels like it's a statement that they themselves are making. And if we look onto the next slide, you'll see how they've shared this on Blue Sky. Again, same information, but they've broken it down into a thread that's digestible, that again, people can reshare. So as I said, I think most of us do that already, but I wanted to share an example. Now, next type of, I guess, reusing our content is when we share the same message or the same visual footage, but in a different context. And I'm going to show you an example that unfortunately it's not from the impact sector, but I feel like it's going to help me to explain what I mean really good. So if we move on to the next slide and wait for this video to load, give me a second, Lucy, just so I can give some context. So what we're about to see is a recipe creator that I follow on Instagram. And she is very famous for creating plant-based recipes. And she's got a bit of a niche about beans. So a lot of her recipes are with beans, and her followers are really big into the bean recipe niche. Anyway, so on this video, let's watch the first 10 seconds of it together.
Welcome back to my series 30-30. 30-minute meals with over 30 grams of plant protein. These are my creamy tomato and basil beans, and they contain 38 grams of plant protein per portion. Start by sauteing onion and garlic in plenty of olive oil.
That's enough. You got the gist. It's a recipe with beans. She shows you, she puts the onions, she puts the tomato paste, normal recipe video, right? People went crazy about it. She had loads of engagement, people commenting. So she decided, why waste this recipe? Why not reuse this video again? So if we go on to the next slide, we'll see how she's done that. Let's watch the first 10 seconds together.
One thing I want you to do in 2025 is eat more beans. Why? Because 90% of the UK population do not eat enough dietary fibre, and beans are full of it, along with...
Okay, so what she's done here is she used exactly the same video, exactly the same caption, with the difference that she says that this is one of her most popular recipes from 2024. But what she's done is she's got a completely new story, like a completely new angle that she's looking at this video. So she's saying, you know, we don't need enough fiber in this country. We need to eat more beans. So I was just thinking, like, is this something that perhaps we can do, or you can do with your own content? Is there some video content laying around of behind the scenes from conferences or interesting moments with your team, or even if it's photos and carousel, but just sharing a completely different story around that footage, or perhaps using the same copy, it's the same story, but you change the visual, but simply reusing something that you already have and giving it a new life, if you want to say. Okay, and if we look on to the next slide, we're going to see the last way to drive more impact with less effort. which is repurposing your content, which is what we're about to speak more about now. And the idea of repurposing content is that you can break down one idea into multiple new ideas. And what I'm about to show you now, it's a framework that we've developed at Social for Good. Just on to the next slide. And the framework is something that we came up with when we started working with clients that have loads of reports, they have beautiful pieces on their website, but we just realized that all of these content pieces that they've poured their time into, they're not given enough attention on social media, and they're forgotten because they're simply shared as a link. And we just thought, surely we can reuse those. Surely we can reshare them on social media, multiple different types, in multiple different types and ways. So one way to think about content repurposing is to just share the summary of it. Again, something that we all probably already do. So if you have a blog post, just sharing the link to it, the podcast, just sharing the video to it or the link to it, the download link if it's something like a free resource on your website. Okay, we already do that. Then another way to think about it is thinking about what's the benefit in reading, watching, or clicking through and creating a social media post specifically promoting that. Or thinking about the inspirational element of it. Can we use that blog, let's say, to motivate your audience to do something, to change something, to come up with a new idea? Or the last way you can think about repurposing a blog, for example, is thinking about the support that people are going to get by reading, watching the content piece you've got. So thinking about the solution that it presents, the anxieties that it alleviates for your audience, and writing this in the copy. Then another way, onto the next slide, is to think about how you can turn this repurposed content into something engaging. Like, how can you drive engagement with your audience? And let's say you have a big report that you've published on your website. So are there maybe 3, 5, 10 things that you can pull out of this report and create individual content pieces about? So each of them lives on your social media as individual content piece. Or maybe there is a topic within your report that you can do a really deep dive into. So something interesting that you've just mentioned, maybe you can bring additional information to it. Use the information you've already got into the report, but then bring more information into a deep dive. Or you can break down something very complex and long into multiple bite-sized posts. You can create threads, for example, on Blue Sky. You can create stories on Instagram. Or something really interesting is to collaborate. So maybe there's another organization that you can bring, or a content creator or a brand ambassador that can do a story takeover to talk about this topic and say, this is something that we've started on the blog. This is something that we've shared in the report, but then they bring their own expertise to this. And I'm going to show you a little bit later how we've done this at Social for Good and how we've seen other charities do it. And the last way you can repurpose content, goes on to the next slide, Lucy. Yeah, it's by looking into the detail of the blog or the podcast, the report that you're sharing. So repurposing with the idea that you want to educate people and focusing specifically on something that is going to teach your audience something new, or creating a poll around it. Maybe you can ask people what you can ask them an open-ended question to start conversations, or you can ask close-ended questions to gather some data and then say, we asked you last week, what do you think about X? 27% of you think that. And actually in our report, we found that the data says that. So you can start conversations and then see how does this support what you've already found or what you've already written about, and create completely new content from it. Now, let's have a look at some examples. Actually, before that, let me ask you a question. So if, just the next slide, Lucy. If you were to repeat your content, where do you currently stand? Like, do you mostly reformat it? Do you reuse it? Do you repurpose? I'd love if a few of you can share in the chat, just to see what's the vibe in the room. I'm going to look at some examples shortly of repurposing content. I feel like the reformatting is what we used to do a lot of before we came up with the repurposing framework. So Alexandra is reusing content, Sonia is reformatting quite a bit, Christian is reformatting, often using the same messaging but different imagery. Amazing. Sanskriti is reformatting and repurposing. Okay, so real mix of sharing the same content but in different ways. And it's good to hear that you already do a lot of that. And hopefully there will be some inspiration of just new ways and angles we can look at content repurposing in the future. So let's have a look together at a couple of different examples of how others do it in the sector. And I thought, let's start with something that we do because that's easy. So back in January this year, we wrote this newsletter, which was about awareness days throughout the year and how different charities can use the awareness days and create content around them. So if we watch this video now, we're going to see how we created entertaining content that evoked some emotion in our audience. So essentially, my colleague Lucy, who is kind of sharing her slides now, has printed the awareness calendar and she circles to show that it's National Hugging Day, and then she's hugging my other colleague. So as you see, it's quite a nice way to just show the idea that we've got this calendar and we're prompting people in the copy saying, you know, you can go and download it. It's a free resource on our website. Shameless plug, it's still there. If you want, you can download it as well. It's got really nice awareness days throughout the year. Anyways, that's one way we repurpose this newsletter. Then if we look onto the next slide, we'll see that we've also turned this into a collaborative post, which is what I mentioned earlier. So here we've partnered with Projects in Brighton. So Projects, it's a co-working space, but they're also a B Corp organization that works with loads of purpose-driven organizations. So their followers are very aligned with our followers because it's all about purpose. So we decided that because they're also expert on this, we're going to create a carousel together on how our followers can use awareness days for good. And it feels really aligned, and it's something that you can also do. Find an expert, bring them into the room, and both of you co-create content together. Then another way we've repurposed this is by highlighting something specific for the newsletter. So for example, in the free resource with awareness days, obviously we have each month with what's happening that month. So each month we can create content from that and just simply share the dates, and it's evergreen content for the whole year. So what we've done here is again carousel, just showing you the dates and what's happening this month. Super simple. We don't need to come up with new content ideas. We're simply repurposing something that we've put together at the beginning of the year and sharing it again and again, but just focusing on different aspects of it. Okay, so now we're going to look at another example, which is Exclusive Collection. Now, Exclusive Collection, it's a B Corp organization that has loads of different luxury lodges around the UK. And they had this blog on their website, which was basically promoting a new lodge that they have, and they wanted to get more people to book onto it and to visit it. So if we look at the next slide, we will see on the left that they've shared about this new lodge. And then what they've done on the right is they have a video just showing you different angles, just showing you what does the lodge look like, and then introducing, summarizing their blog. In the copy, essentially, they say, discover the rates at South Lodge, have the link in bio to get the inside scoop, etc., etc. They're just summarizing, they're just telling you, we have a new blog, go and read it. Then if you look onto the next slide, we will see how on the left, They're sharing what's so good about this lodge. They're basically highlighting different benefits about going to the place. They're saying that it's CO2 neutral, it collects rainwater, it's designed to thread lightly on the planet. They're basically promoting sustainability. And then if we look onto the right, we see how they've summarized this. Oh, yeah. And basically they're saying that it's luxurious, it's a nice space, but also it's CO2 neutral. They've chosen something from the blog and they're highlighting the benefit of visiting it. So they're not coming up with new content, they're simply repurposing and choosing to focus on one thing. Then if we look onto the next slide, we'll see how they've turned this blog into more content. They've decided to do a deep dive now. Again, if you continue reading onto their blog, you'll see that they mention that close to the lodge, they have this lake. And in the lake, you have these lilies. And a cutting from Monet's garden is where the lilies were taken from. So it makes it quite special. It's quite artsy, it's very cultural, it's got history. So they've decided to create social media posts that deep dives into that and specifically talks about the lilies. Again, they didn't come up with this content. It's from the blog. It's simply repurposed. It's given new life. Okay. So this takes us to the end of the examples that I wanted to walk you through. And I'm just quickly going to summarize what we've learned, and we're going to open to discussions. So stick around. Essentially, you don't need to create content from scratch. You can simply reuse, reformat, or repurpose your content. And you can use the 3-angle 12-pronged strategy to turn long-form content into a steady stream of engaging social media posts. And remember the analogy about the outfit. If you create a great outfit, you don't wear it just once, you wear it again and again. And it's the same with content. Make sure that you give your content opportunity to be seen by more than 2 to 13%, which is what we saw at the beginning. Repurposing is simply about driving more impact with less effort. So if we look onto the next slide, just very quickly, I wanted to share that the webinar that we had today, it's a very tiny tester of the accelerator, which is an 8-week program that we have developed with charities, for charities. The idea of the accelerator is that you have live modules as well as self-paced modules, and it's all about social media and how charities can use it to drive more impact on social media. We have one-to-one deep dive sessions, you have community support throughout the accelerator, and we have a next cohort starting in May. If that's of interest to you, we're going to send you all some information about it after the call. So let us know if you're interested. If not, let's have a discussion now. Let us know if you have any questions, comments, experiences, insights around content repurposing, and we'll answer them over the next few minutes. Thank you.